Imagine dying from one of the rarest animal attacks in history, while doing what you love most. September 4th, 2006. Steve Irwin, the fearless crocodile hunter, was filming in the crystal-clear waters of the Great Barrier Reef. He approached an 8-foot-wide stingray from behind, planning to capture peaceful footage for his daughter's TV show. But the ocean had different plans. In a split second, the stingray felt cornered, mistaking Irwin's shadow for a predatory tiger shark. It suddenly propped up and began stabbing wildly, hundreds of strikes within seconds. The barb pierced through his chest like a knife through butter, directly into his heart. His cameraman, Justin Lyons, watched in horror as blood filled the water. Steve's calm, heartbreaking last words? "I'm dying." Only 20 fatal stingray attacks have been recorded worldwide since 1945. The man who fearlessly wrestled crocodiles and handled venomous snakes died from one of nature's gentlest creatures. His death remains the only stingray fatality ever captured on video, footage his family destroyed to honor his memory. Steve died doing what he loved, teaching the world about wildlife. Taylor Mitchell. She was just 19, hiking alone in nature, when 2 coyotes did something they'd never done before. October 27th, 2009. Taylor Mitchell, a rising folk singer from Toronto, was walking the Skyline Trail in Cape Breton Highlands National Park, Nova Scotia. She loved nature and was taking a break between concerts. At 3:02 p.m., 2 coyotes walked boldly past other hikers on the trail. 6 minutes later, screams echoed through the forest. 4 hikers rushed to the scene and found Taylor on the ground, being attacked by coyotes. They fought the animals off with sticks and called 911. But it was too late. Taylor was airlifted to Halifax with multiple bite wounds and died 12 hours later from blood loss. She was only 19 years old. This was the only fatal adult coyote attack ever recorded in North America. Scientists later discovered these coyotes had been hunting moose, 700-pound animals, making them fearless of humans. Taylor's mother said her daughter wouldn't have wanted the coyotes killed. She died in the place she loved most, surrounded by the wilderness that inspired her music. Timothy Treadwell. He lived with grizzly bears for 13 summers. Then one October day, they turned on him. Timothy Treadwell thought he understood bears. For 13 years, he spent every summer in Alaska's Katmai National Park, living among grizzlies without weapons or protection. He filmed them, named them, even touched them. Park rangers warned him repeatedly his behavior was dangerous. But Treadwell believed the bears trusted him. October 5th, 2003. Treadwell and his girlfriend Amy Huguenot stayed late in the season, when food was scarce and bears were aggressive before hibernation. A hungry, unfamiliar bear attacked their camp. Their video camera captured the entire attack on audio. For 6 horrifying minutes, you can hear Treadwell screaming, Amy yelling at him to play dead, then telling him to fight back. When rescuers arrived the next day, they found a bear guarding their remains. Both had been killed and partially eaten. The bear was shot. Treadwell had spent 35,000 hours among bears, but one moment of wrong timing cost him everything. The audio recording still exists, but his family destroyed it. Some sounds should never be heard. Brandon Lee. The son of Bruce Lee was about to become a star. Then a prop gun changed everything. March 31st, 1993. Brandon Lee was filming his breakthrough role in The Crow. At 28, he was finally stepping out of his legendary father's shadow. He was engaged to be married in just 17 days. That night, they filmed a scene where a thug shoots Brandon's character. The gun was loaded with blanks, safe, harmless blanks. But nobody knew a dummy bullet from an earlier scene was still lodged inside the barrel. When actor Michael Massey pulled the trigger from 15 feet away, the blank's gunpowder launched that bullet like a real shot. It struck Brandon in the abdomen, tearing through 2 major arteries. He collapsed. Crew members thought he was acting. The scene called for him to fall. Then they saw the blood. Brandon was rushed into surgery for 6 hours, but his injuries were too severe. He died at 1:04 p.m., never regaining consciousness. The actor who fired the gun was traumatized for life. Brandon was buried next to his father Bruce Lee in Seattle. Both legends, both gone too soon. The Crow was completed using digital effects and became a massive hit, but Brandon never got to see it. John Eric Hexum. One joke, one blank, one trigger pull, and Hollywood lost a rising star in the most preventable tragedy. October 12th, 1984. John Eric Hexum was living the dream. At 26, he was starring in the TV series Cover Up, playing a CIA agent posing as a male model. He was handsome, charismatic, and Hollywood called him the next big thing. That Friday, filming was dragging on. There were endless delays. Hexum was bored, restless. To lighten the mood, he picked up a prop .44 Magnum revolver loaded with blanks. He unloaded 5 chambers, left one in, and spun the cylinder, imitating Russian roulette. When the crew announced yet another delay, Hexum joked, "Can you believe this crap?" Then he raised the gun to his right temple and pulled the trigger. The blank had no bullet, but the explosive force from the gunpowder was enough. It fractured a quarter-sized piece of his skull and drove it into his brain, causing massive bleeding. He underwent 5 hours of surgery, but never woke up. 6 days later, he was declared brain dead. His organs were donated to 5 people, saving their lives. The actor who thought blanks were harmless became a tragic reminder that even fake guns can kill. Cover Up continued without him, but the shadow of his death hung over every episode. Hollywood would never be the same. Vic Morrow. He had a premonition he'd die in a helicopter crash. Years later, it came true on camera. July 23, 1982, 2:20 a.m. Actor Vic Morrow was filming Twilight Zone, the movie at Indian Dunes in California. The scene was intense. Morrow's character was rescuing 2 Vietnamese children from an American helicopter attack. 7-year-old Micah Din Lu and 6-year-old Renee Shin stood beside him in the shallow river. A helicopter hovered just 25 feet above them. Special effects explosions were rigged to go off nearby. But minutes before filming, Morrow told a production assistant, "I must be out of my mind to be doing this. I should have asked for a stunt double." Then he added, almost joking, "What can they do but kill me, right?" The cameras rolled. Explosions detonated. Too close. Too powerful. The blast struck the helicopter's tail rotor, tearing it off. The chopper spun out of control and crashed down into the water. Morrow and Lu were decapitated instantly by the main rotor blades. Chin was crushed beneath the landing skid. All 3 died in seconds. Director John Landis and 4 crew members were charged with involuntary manslaughter, but all were acquitted. The tragedy changed Hollywood forever, leading to stricter safety regulations for aircraft and pyrotechnics on film sets. Vic Morrow's premonition had come true in the worst way imaginable. Anton Yelchin, the rising Star Trek star, was killed by his own car. And he wasn't alone. 200,000 others got the same chilling letter. June 19, 2016, Los Angeles. Anton Yelchin, the 27-year-old actor beloved as Chekhov in the new Star Trek films, was on his way to meet friends. At around 1 a.m., he stepped out of his Jeep Grand Cherokee in the steep driveway of his Studio City home. He left the engine running. Moments later, the 5,000-pound SUV inexplicably rolled backward. The vehicle pinned Anton against a security gate and a brick pillar, crushing him. A friend found him hours later, the engine still running. The official cause of death: blunt traumatic asphyxia. But this was no simple parking brake error. For months, Anton had been one of 200,000 drivers who received urgent recall notices from Fiat Chrysler. The problem? A confusing electronic gear shifter in his 2015 Jeep that gave no physical feedback, making drivers think they were in park when they were actually in neutral. At least 266 crashes were linked to the defect. Anton had even filmed a video complaining about how unpredictable the shifter was. He had scheduled a recall repair, but the appointment was still weeks away at the time of his death. The man who navigated starships on screen was defeated by a flawed gear shift in his own driveway. In the ultimate tragedy, the recall repair, a simple software update that took less than 30 minutes, arrived too late. Roy Horn. He wasn't mauled. He was saved. That's what made his death years later even more tragic. October 3, 2003, Las Vegas. In front of a sold-out crowd at the Mirage, Roy Horn of the legendary duo Siegfried and Roy was performing their iconic act with a 7-year-old white tiger named Manticore. During the grand finale, Roy stumbled. In that split second, Manticore did something unprecedented. He grabbed Roy by the neck and dragged him off stage. The audience thought it was part of the act, but the blood was real. Manticore's bite had severed Roy's spine, cutting off blood flow to his vertebral artery and causing a massive stroke. Roy would later insist, "Manticore saved my life," believing the tiger sensed his medical distress and was trying to pull him to safety. The attack marked the end of their long-running Las Vegas spectacle. Roy survived, but the injuries were catastrophic. He suffered partial paralysis, endured years of grueling physical therapy, and faced lasting neurological and physical challenges. For 17 years, he and Siegfried lived in seclusion, their bond stronger than ever. Roy Horn ultimately passed away on May 8, 2020, at the age of 75. The official cause of death was complications from COVID-19. However, his family and Siegfried stated unequivocally that the underlying conditions stemming from the tiger attack, the stroke and its lasting damage, made him uniquely vulnerable. The man who lived by the tiger did not die by it, but its shadow never left him. The legacy was one of survival, but his final chapter was written by the injuries he sustained that night on stage. Owen Hart. Professional wrestling is scripted. His death was not, and it happened in front of 16,000 people, live on pay-per-view. May 23, 1999, Kansas City. At the WWE's Over the Edge pay-per-view event, 34-year-old Owen Hart was set to make a spectacular superhero-like entrance as his character, the Blue Blazer. The plan: he would be lowered 78 feet from the rafters of the Kemper Arena into the ring, suspended by a simple quick-release harness and a single wire. At approximately 8:45 p.m., as a pre-taped interview played on the big screens to distract the audience, Hart was being attached to the rigging. Before he could give the final okay, the quick-release mechanism on his harness accidentally activated. Witnesses heard him yell, "Look out!" as he plummeted chest-first onto the top rope and ring turnbuckle before crashing into the ring. The impact, equivalent to falling from an 8-story building, caused massive internal trauma. The live audience of over 16,000 fell into a confused silence, many initially believing it was a morbidly realistic stunt. Medical personnel rushed to the ring. Fellow wrestlers, realizing the severity, formed a human wall to shield him from view. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, but was pronounced dead within the hour from blunt force trauma to the chest. The show, horrifically, went on. The WWE later stated the tragedy was caused by equipment failure. Hart's family sued, claiming the harness was unsafe and the stunt was unnecessarily dangerous. Owen Hart, a beloved husband, father, and brother of fellow wrestler Bret, the Hitman Hart, was a man who performed in a world of fiction, but whose end was a devastating and very public reality. Paul Walker. The Fast and Furious star wasn't driving. He was just along for a ride that turned into a fireball. November 30th, 2013, Santa Clarita, California. It was a Saturday afternoon just after a charity event for his organization, Reach Out Worldwide. Paul Walker, the 40-year-old star of the Fast and Furious franchise, decided to take a ride in a friend's car, a rare red 2005 Porsche Carrera GT, a car famously known as a widowmaker for its raw, unforgiving power. His friend, Roger Rodas, an experienced financial advisor and amateur racer, was behind the wheel. They took it for what was supposed to be a brief drive. Witnesses reported the Porsche traveling at a high rate of speed, estimated by investigators to be between 80 and 93 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour zone, on a street known for slight curves. As Rodas negotiated a bend, the car's rear tires allegedly lost traction. It veered across the road, sideswiped a curb and a light pole, then slammed sideways into a concrete lamppost and a tree. The carbon fiber construction of the Porsche, designed for lightness on the racetrack, provided little crash protection. The impact ripped the car in half and ruptured the fuel tank. Almost instantly, it was engulfed in a massive fireball. Both men were killed on impact. The subsequent investigation concluded that speed was the primary cause, combined with the car's notoriously challenging handling. The man who made his name in films about high-octane brotherhood died just a mile from his charity event, with a close friend by his side. The final cruel irony. The film franchise he helped make iconic would dedicate its next installment to him, with the tagline, "For Paul." Naya Rivera. It was supposed to be a perfect day on the lake. 20 minutes was all it took for her to vanish, but she spent every last second saving him. July 8th, 2020, Lake Piru, California. Naya Rivera, the 33-year-old actress and singer beloved for her role as Santana Lopez on Glee, rented a pontoon boat for a simple afternoon outing with her 4-year-old son, Josie. The lake was calm, the sun was shining. They anchored in a secluded cove to swim. At some point, Naya helped Josie back onto the boat's swim deck. When the boy turned around, his mother was gone. a lone pontoon boat, adrift with a sleeping child aboard, was found by another boater around 4:30 p.m. Josie, found safe but alone, told investigators a heartbreaking truth. Mommy jumped in the water and didn't come back. What followed was a massive 5-day search that gripped the nation. On July 13, 2020, her body was recovered from the lake's murky depths in the same cove. Investigators pieced together a heroic final act. The cove was known for sudden, powerful underwater currents and steep drop-offs. They concluded that Naya had used the last of her strength to boost her son safely onto the boat, an action that likely exhausted her or placed her in the path of a hazardous current she could not escape. It was a deliberate maternal sacrifice. Her death was ruled an accidental drowning. The woman who gave voice to anthems of strength on screen spent her final moments performing the ultimate act of it in silence, ensuring her little boy would live to tell the story. Eric Hill. He had just left the most dramatic rose ceremony of his life. But his next adventure would be his last, just days before the world met him. April 23, 2014, near Salt Lake City, Utah. Eric Hill, the 31-year-old charismatic adventurer and reality TV contestant, had just finished filming his season of The Bachelorette. Known for his boundless energy and love for extreme travel, his goal was to visit every country. Eric was paragliding with friends in the mountains above Point of the Mountain, a popular site. The conditions were reportedly ideal. Witnesses stated that during his flight, Eric's paraglider suddenly and violently collapsed. He entered an uncontrollable spiral, dropping roughly 50 to 100 feet before slamming into the steep, rocky hillside. He suffered catastrophic injuries. Despite immediate CPR from fellow pilots and a rapid airlift to a hospital, Eric Hill was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The tragic twist of timing was profound. His death occurred just weeks before his season of The Bachelorette, featuring Andy Dorfman, was set to premiere. The show aired as scheduled, turning his journey for love into a haunting posthumous memorial. In a chillingly prescient blog post years earlier, Eric had written about his acceptance of risk, saying, "If I die tomorrow, know I am very, very happy with how my last few years were spent." The professional adventurer, who had survived dangers in remote corners of the globe, met his end during a recreational flight in his home state, his TV persona forever frozen as the vibrant suitor America never got to see come home. Jose Fernandez. He had just told his girlfriend he was going to be a father. Hours later, his boat was a wreck on a jetty he knew by heart. September 25, 2016, Miami Beach, Florida. In the early morning hours, Miami Marlins ace pitcher Jose Fernandez, 24, was aboard his 32-foot speedboat, caught looking, with two friends, Emilio Macias and Eduardo Rivero. They were returning from a late-night outing. At approximately 3:15 a.m., traveling at full throttle in the dark, the vessel approached the government-cut channel, a familiar passage to Fernandez, a skilled boater who had famously navigated treacherous waters to defect from Cuba. With no signs of evasive action, the boat slammed directly into a rocky jetty at the channel's entrance. The impact was catastrophic. All three men were killed instantly from the force of the collision. Toxicology reports later showed Fernandez had a high blood alcohol concentration of 0.147, nearly twice Florida's legal limit, and evidence of cocaine. The investigation concluded the crash was caused by operating a vessel at a high rate of speed in the dark of night, in an area with known navigational hazards, while impaired. The tragedy was a profound shock to baseball. Just days earlier, a radiant Fernandez had announced his girlfriend was pregnant. On the day of his death, the Marlins canceled their game. His jersey hung in the dugout as his teammates wept on the field. The young man who had cheated death during his daring defection, who pitched with unparalleled joy and ferocity, met his end on calm waters close to home, a victim of speed, darkness, and impaired judgment. His promise, both on the mound and as a soon-to-be father, was left tragically unfulfilled.